is a consultation and what is the purpose of a consultation?
You could call it a consultation, you can call it a case overview, you know what I mean? But I mean, it kind of is what it is. It is where somebody who believes that they have a problem, whether you would say a personal injury attorney, family law attorney, whatever, it is somebody who has identified an attorney that they believe may be able to help them based on that attorney's training experience, and they're going to come in and they're going to meet with that attorney or his staff or his office and share their story and talk about where they're at, what they're thinking, and sort of begin to learn kind of what their rights are underneath whatever type of law they're talking about. And, just start to gain some guidance on the process, what they're thinking and what they've researched is correct or incorrect based on the facts they're given, and, what their next steps would be if they want to move forward.
Welcome to another episode of Best of Johnston County, brought to you by Breeden Law Office. Our host, Jonathan Breeden, an experienced family lawyer with a deep connection to the community, is ready to take you on a journey through the area that he has called home for over 20 years. Whether it's a deep dive into the love locals have for the county or unraveling the complexities of family law, Best of Johnston County presents an authentic slice of this unique community.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Best of Johnston County podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden, and today we're going to have another special edition episode of the Best of Johnston County podcast that we call Ask Jonathan Breeden Anything. Normally on this podcast, I, Jonathan Breeden, interview community leaders, business owners, people of interest in the Johnston County community about what they love about Johnston County and what makes Johnston County a great place to live. Every once in a while, we do these special edition episodes where our social media coordinator, Raena, asks me, Jonathan Breeden, questions about family law, which is what we do here at the Breeden Law Office, and sometimes the general practice of law as well. And that's what one of these episodes is going to be about today. And we're going to talk about how to prepare for and what to expect in a consultation with an attorney. But before we do that, I would like to ask or remind everybody if they would be so kind as to like, follow, or subscribe to this podcast wherever you're seeing it on LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook so that you'll be made aware of future episodes of the Best of Johnston County podcast. The Best of Johnston County podcast comes out every Monday, and we've now been doing this for over 8 months, and we have lots and lots of episodes, and we've had a lot of great guests in the past, including Patrick Harris, Johnston County Commissioner, Adrian O'Neill, Johnston County Parks and Rec Director, Chris Johnson, Johnston County Economic Development Director. We had Representative Donald White on as well from the State House, and we had County Commissioner Ted Godwin. Now County Commissioner Bill Stovall, when he was a candidate, talking about what he wanted to do. So we've had a lot of great guests you can go back and listen to. And if you love Johnston County as much as I love Johnston County, this is the podcast for you. It would also help us if you would leave us a 5-star review down at the bottom, wherever you're seeing this podcast. It will raise our visibility so that other people will be aware of the Best Johnston County podcast. Now on with the show. As I've said, the sort of disclaimer, Raena. Mm-hmm. So what do you want to ask you about today?
All right. So we're going to talk about consultations today and what people can kind of expect. Obviously that's kind of the first step on their possible divorce journey, and it can be a little scary. So people have, a lot of people have questions and don't really know what to expect. So we're going to kind of cover some of that today.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. So first question is, what is a consultation and what is the purpose of a consultation?
A consultation, I mean, you could call it a consultation, you can call it a case overview, you know what I mean? But I mean, it kind of is what it is. It is where somebody who believes that they have a problem, whether you would say a personal injury attorney, family law attorney, whatever, it is somebody who has identified an attorney that they believe may be able to help them based on that attorney's training experience. And they're going to come in and they're going to meet with that attorney or his staff or his office and sort of share their story and talk about where they're at, what they're thinking, and sort of begin to learn kind of what their rights are underneath whatever type of law they're talking about. And, just start to gain some guidance on the process, if what they're thinking and what they've researched is correct or incorrect based on the facts they're given, and, what their next steps, would be if they want to move forward. And not everybody does move forward, particularly in a family law scenario, but it does give them sort of their options, right? everybody has rights, right? The laws are there to protect the rights of everybody. The laws apply equally to everybody. But if you don't know what your rights are, it's kind of hard to protect them. And so, one of the things, a consultation can do is start to give you an idea of kind of what your rights are and what you can do if you choose to move forward. The other thing a consultation does, and probably more importantly than sort of trying to figure out kind of what your rights are or whatever, is it allows you to start to build a relationship with the office that you're meeting with, because it's very important that you feel listened to, that you are comfortable, because particularly if you're going to go through a divorce, it is going to be emotionally trying. It's going to be financially trying. If it's a high contest case, it's going to cost a lot of money that most people don't have. And you need to feel comfortable with the attorney that you choose. Probably more important than anything else is that you feel comfortable with that person. You feel that they are listening to you, that they care about your rights as a person, that they're being honest with you and not just telling you what you want to hear, because that doesn't do anybody any good. No. And that they're going to be an effective advocate, and that they're going to communicate with you. And I think you can start to figure that out by just sitting down for 30 or 45 minutes and just talking to somebody. I know the first time I met you, we hit it off almost immediately. It's like, it's the same thing. Like, whether you like somebody or not. There's lots of lawyers that can represent you, and there's tons of good family lawyers in Johnson County and Wake County, but you're not going to be comfortable with all of them. No. And so that is one of the things that you need to be looking for is, are you comfortable with this person?
Got it. Okay. So it's definitely, first part of that is obviously the person identifies a problem. The consultation might offer some solutions when you go over that. And then obviously big purpose of that is to find somebody that you are comfortable working with long term, because it might be, a couple months, couple years, who knows how long.
Correct.
All right. So the next question is, how long should somebody expect a consultation to be?
Once again, depending on the area of law, most consultations are going to run, particularly in my office and most family law offices, between 30 minutes and an hour. You know what I mean? You're not going to be able to get through the entire thing and go through every scenario. And we try real hard to not get into the sort of this engineering of what if.
Kind of get into the weeds.
Right. Because if you number one, you don't have time.
No.
And number two, no matter what if statement you create, the odds that it is going to be that fact pattern that one side has come up with in their mind with their version of the facts, that's not going to happen. So even if we sat here and tried to answer all the what if questions, it doesn't really do anybody any good, because there's no way that those exact facts are ever going to line up, because they're coming from a interested party, not a disinterested third party. And they're going to tell their story from their vantage point, which they should, because it's their story.
Yeah.
But that might not be the actual story that a judge hears or believes. And so, really our goals really is to, figure out, okay, do you have a family law problem that we can help with? Are these areas of law that we help people in? Is it in one of the counties that we serve? If the case is already ongoing, do we have time to possibly get in the case and be prepared for a hearing that might be happening very quickly? Unfortunately for us, it's not that uncommon for people to come in and they've known about a court date for 4 months and the court date's in 3 days.
Yeah, they're coming in the last
coming in the last second, right? That puts us in an impossible position. And so we often can't help that person, at least with that first court date, but maybe we can help them with future court dates. We try to educate people that come in about, why we do what we do. Our story of trying to focus on helping children and getting children out of bad situations, or allowing children to still have healthy relationships with both parents. Now, depending on the definition of healthy based on the mental health or the physical health of the parents varies greatly. But, so we're trying to see where people are on that. and, making them feel comfortable with us, the person they're meeting with, and you sort of getting an overview of, is this somebody we can help?
Yeah.
And if it is, we talk about, what that investment would look like and how to move forward. And sometimes if we get we kind of know if we feel like we're getting a pretty good indication of what the facts are, we might be able to give the outline of a timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But that's always
right.
Timelines are the hardest part of it.
Yeah. Okay. And so in this 30 minutes to an hour, I know we talked about, it's kind of going to be an overview of what the case and everything. So when I ask what can they expect to talk about, maybe in terms of just your normal run of the mill, divorce case, somebody's coming in, it's their first consultation. What are kind of the maybe 5 main topics that they can expect to cover in that initial consultation?
Well, I think the topics would be, you really start with the jurisdictional stuff. Like, does this person live within one of the counties that we serve? Is the case in one of these counties? It's not that uncommon for somebody to come in here and they live in Johnson County or they live in Wake County, but the child lives in Texas. In North Carolina is an order and it's a Texas case. So, so the first things we're going to try to talk about is identify what the issue is and where would the case be? Is this a case that if it needed to be filed or if it is ongoing, is it in Johnson, Harnett, Wake County, North Carolina, which is where we primarily practice? What is the status? Like, is the case ongoing? Have you been served with papers? Have you missed deadlines? Have you missed court dates?
Yeah.
Have defaults been entered against you? And all of those things happen. And so, we kind of try to figure out, what is the case? Where is it? Is it ongoing? Yeah. And 90% of the people that come in, the case is not ongoing. This is the beginning of a fact-finding mission that they're on. And, and we're just trying to figure out what's going on. We're definitely going to listen to them tell their story in their words without trying to interrupt it. You know what I mean? Just to get out what is going on, identify the hell the person is going through, and see if we can project a heaven for them where they could possibly be, if they were to move forward, and a realistic thing as to where it can move forward, because I think I think it is helpful for people. It's hard it is really hard to pick up the phone and call a divorce attorney. That's why we work very hard here to be empathetic. We work very hard here to be understanding, because we understand how hard it is to make that call. And then we know how hard it is to book that consultation. And we know how hard it is to come to most of the people come to the office, and have that meeting. Is a very emotionally trying and difficult thing to do.
It's a harrowing thing, for sure.
Right. And we understand that, and we try to approach these things with compassion. And I think there's some value in listening, people telling their story. And I can assure you, if you come here with all the cases that I have done and the other attorneys have done, while the story will be unique to you and it is your life and your hell, I can almost guarantee you, we have seen that story before. We have helped people with that same story, facing that same hell, and we've gotten people to a heaven, and we can probably help you get to a heaven as well. That would be a better life, often free of abuse, free of verbal abuse, physical abuse, free of alcoholism, all of those types of things. And, we can help with that. And so, but we can't help you if you don't come see us, if you don't come talk to us, where we can find out, because we can't help everybody. We can't help everybody, Raena, but we want to help the people that we can help. But we can't figure out if we can help you if you don't come meet with us.
And that's very true. And I can attest that this man makes sure that everybody in his office is empathetic and an active listener and whatnot, because we all had to take personality tests. And we all came back with flying colors, I can say that. Okay, so next question would be, should somebody do more than one consultation? Like, should they kind of shop around for their divorce lawyer?
That's up to the individual. If the first person you meet with, you feel comfortable with, you're comfortable with them, you're comfortable with the investment that you're going to have to make in them, you feel like that they can provide the services that you need, then maybe not. But if the first person you meet with, you're not comfortable with, or you're not comfortable with the investment that it's going to take to hire that person, or you didn't feel like you were listened to, you were more to talk to, and you weren't listened to, then yeah, I would encourage people to talk to more than one attorney. And some people do and some people don't. You know what I mean? And different attorneys are going to have different opinions on whatever fact pattern you give them. You know what I mean? Overview. But most of the time it's going to be fairly close.
Yeah.
Because the law is kind of the law. But I would never discourage somebody from doing more than one consult. If they have the time and the resources, I think it's good because they need to find somebody that's comfortable. And I think one mistake people make is they come in and they meet with an attorney and they're not comfortable, but they're not comfortable with the person. They're not comfortable with the investment, the amount of money it's going to take, but they hire anyway. And then that starts the relationship off on a bad foot.
Yeah.
Even though the attorney hasn't done anything wrong. I mean, they are who they are.
Yeah.
The investment is the investment, and so that can make for a more difficult relationship.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, of course. So if somebody does multiple consultations, how does that affect the opposing party? Because does that create a conflict of interest if that opposing party then also tries to come to a consultation?
Correct. Once a law firm has done a consultation with one of the people in the lawsuit, divorce or anything, they then are conflicted out from doing a consultation or offering representation to the other side in that case. And so people do go around and do multiple consultations to conflict out law firms. And, that people do it. It happens here as we have become arguably the most successful firm in Johnston County, one of the most desired firms, if not the most desired firm in Johnston County. Even if people maybe decide that they can't do the investment that we're asking, they will still come here and do a consult to keep the Breeden Law Office out of their case. And so
I would argue it's kind of a smart move because you guys are very good at what you do.
Well, that's true. But our greatest compliment is when we represent one side in one divorce and then the opposing side comes to hire us for their next divorce.
I bet.
Where we can do that because we're not against our client anymore. We're against the new wife.
Yeah.
And those are always, that's how you know you're doing something right. When somebody you've been against, the first opportunity they get comes and hires you to represent them, that's how you know you're doing something right.
You did a good job the first time.
You did a good job the first time because they were like, if I'm in this spot again, I'm going to go hire them. But no, it does create a conflict. And so we're unable to then consult with the other side. Now, if you call and you schedule an appointment and you don't appear for the appointment, that does not create a conflict. No. You have to actually come in, pay for the consultation, have the consultation to create a conflict. We do have at least once a month, Raena, somebody will call, they will schedule their consultation, they will cancel it before they come in, and then the other side will call us and they will pay for the consultation and they will come in.
Okay.
I don't have a conflict if you don't come in and talk to me.
Yeah, if you don't.
Right. So that
there's no attorney-client privilege.
Right, because I'm not gaining information like I'm getting your, to book a consult, I need your name and address.
Your whole life story.
Right. I don't need your life story, right? I just need to know, does it look like your case is in our area? Yeah. Is it a family law case? What's your name and your phone number? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So that kind of stuff. So we do have that happen every once in a while. And I find that interesting, but we're very ethical here. We try to follow all the rules and,
can't help it if you're in high demand.
Right. Right. And that's true.
Have family law questions? Need guidance to navigate legal challenges? The compassionate team at Breeden Law Office is here to help. Visit us at www.breedenfirm.com for practical advice, resources, or to book a consultation. Remember, when life gets messy, you don't have to face it alone.
very last question, probably the most important one that everybody wants to know. How much on a range would you say a consultation can cost, should cost, that they're looking at?
It depends on what kind of lawyer you're looking for, right? If you're going to see a personal injury attorney or Social Security disability attorney, or an attorney that is working on a contingency fee where they get a percentage of what they win for you, the consultation is almost always going to be free.
Yeah.
As far as that's concerned. If you're going to see a family law attorney or a real estate attorney or a business attorney, where you're going to have to pay them to represent you either at a flat fee or an hourly basis, most of them are going to charge some sort of consultation fee for their time to meet with you and figure out if they can help. Some attorneys do consults. Some attorneys do consults for $250, some $350, $500, $700, $800, $1,000. It really depends on who you call and what they choose to charge for their consultations. I would say the vast majority of consultations are somewhere between $200 and $400 for most law firms. Now, some law firms just charge their hourly rate. So if you're doing, corporate law or business law, or some lawyers in Raleigh that do family law, they're going to be charging $500, $550 an hour. They may just charge that.
Yeah.
So it really is up to the individual attorney. Now, some attorneys, if you go see a personal injury firm, you're not going to talk to an attorney. You're going to talk to an intake specialist or a paralegal or somebody like that who's trained to screen the calls.
Yep.
And so at some family law firms, you will see an intake specialist who's like a paralegal or somebody trained to sort of figure out if the firm can help you or not. So, one of the questions you want to ask is, and if you're not seeing an attorney, it either should be free or should be substantially less.
Yeah.
Like maybe $100. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
you're going to meet with a staff member, so, if you're going to, and some firms offer either one. If you want to talk to an attorney, it's $400 or $450. And if you want to talk to an intake specialist who can, get an outline of what's going on and sort of tell you where it's at, it's $100. So, every firm out there is different.
Gotcha. Well, and that's a great thing to know for them to look out for sure. And to, ask that question when they call to schedule that consultation, if there's a cheaper option, if they're going to be speaking to an attorney when they go to their consultation. I know I didn't know to ask those questions when I had first started my divorce journey. So, and it's a great way, giving them that cost estimate is, people need to be able to plan.
They do. They need to be able to plan. And, divorces, particularly contested divorces, can be very expensive.
Yes.
It's nothing for contested divorce, where there's custody and property and all that stuff. it can easily be $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000.
Yep.
Or more. And so, if the more you can get along, and we've said this on past episodes, Raena, the more you can get along, the more you can get something settled, the quicker you're going to move to your heaven, and the better off you're just going to be in general, and you're going to save a substantial amount of money in attorney's fees, because the more work the attorneys do, the more they're going to have to charge you to do it.
Yep.
And so, trying to be, realistic about the outcomes, listening to your attorney, believe if your attorney is saying, this is a reasonable outcome, this is something that we should try to get to, and we get there, we should settle it, versus just staying in the fight to stay in the fight because you're mad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's just a way to spend a lot of money to end up in the same spot.
Yeah, for sure.
As far as that's concerned. But, as you're getting in, if you're coming into your consultations, especially if you're doing family law, have a pretty good idea of what your assets are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need to have a pretty good idea. Like, you have a house. What do you own the house? What's the house worth? What do you own the cars? What's the cars worth? What is your budget? You need a budget. What is your budget to live in the house you're in? You need to kind of have a budget for where you might go, a realistic budget. If you don't have a budget, go make a budget. If you don't know how to make a budget, go look at your last 3 or 4 months credit card bills or bank statements and see, what are you spending money on? Download a financial affidavit off of nccourts.org. It'll give you all the categories to sort of fill in, so the more you know about what do you own the credit card debt bills, what is your gross income? What is your net income? What is your spouse's gross income? What is your spouse's net income? What is your health insurance cost? The more information you have about your assets and your bills, the better information you're going to get in the consult and moving forward.
Yes.
And it'll be easier for the attorney to be able to figure out whether you're a good fit for them and their firm at the size of cases you have. Some firms can't do multi-million-dollar estates.
Mm-hmm.
They're not set up. They don't have the staff. They don't have the knowledge,
Nope.
that kind of stuff. So you need to have some idea so that the firm knows whether you sort of fit into their criteria of what they do. We can help anybody with really any size estate, but any size marital estate, but that's not most firms.
Yeah.
A lot of firms have to stay at less than $1 million because they don't have the staffing and all the stuff and the amount of work that comes in when you start getting into those higher asset cases. Yeah. So that becomes important as well. I'm a proponent of reading the Google reviews. All law firms now have Google reviews. We have hundreds of Google reviews of the Breeden Law Office out there across our 4 locations. Mm-hmm. Go read those and you'll see a theme. I read my friends' Google reviews. I leave Google reviews for businesses, but usually if you'll read 5 to 10 reviews, you will begin to see a theme as to what is good and maybe what could be better about different law firms.
Yeah.
And I think that's important as well. There's no reason today to not be an educated consumer, given the information that's out there, particularly if you're going to do business with somebody like the Breeden Law Office that has a podcast, that has over 150 YouTube videos, that has a website with over 200 pages on it, that has hundreds of Google reviews, that's written a book that we'll give you for free. You just call or you can download it off the website or we'll mail it to you. Divorce in North Carolina, what you need to know. This firm and the way I do it is a completely open book as to how things are done. And you can find out just about everything you want to know about me and how I do things with just my online presence, which is probably greater than most other attorneys, but still all attorneys have some online presence and you should, right. And you should go and investigate those.
Yeah. And, like my mom always said, learn from other people's experiences and mistakes because you're not going to live long enough to make them all yourself. So definitely read those reviews, especially if they're great reviews, take that and run with it. If there's things that people can possibly work on, maybe look out for that if that starts happening in your case and whatnot. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of reading reviews for literally everything, whether it's a product or a service. So
and that's the gig economy we're in, I guess. People read the reviews.
All right. And I think that's it.
All right, cool. Well, anyway, we'd like to thank you for listening to this episode of the Best of Johnson County podcast, a special edition, Ask Jonathan Breeden Anything, where we talked about how to prepare for and what to expect in a consultation with a law office. If you have any questions or concerns about any family law issues you may have, feel free to reach out to us at 919-661-4970 or at our website at breedenfirm.com. We'd be glad to set up a consultation with you to see if we can help you with your family law need. As we said earlier, if this is your first time listening to the Best of Johnson County podcast, we would ask you to like, follow, or subscribe to this podcast wherever you're viewing it right now, so that you'll be aware of future episodes of the Best of Johnson County podcast. Until next time, I'm your host, Jonathan Breeden.
That's the end of today's episode of Best of Johnston County, a show brought to you by the trusted team at Breeden Law Office. We thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to sharing more interesting facets of this community next week. Every story, every viewpoint adds another thread to the rich tapestry of Johnston County. If the legal aspects highlighted raise some questions, help is just around the corner at www.breedenfirm.com.